My name's Paul Casey, and I work for Wave Trauma as a welfare rights officer.
Well, we'll find out more about waves indeed. When you mention waves, you expect a bit of swimming, but there's not necessarily swimming involved in this. But running's been a large part of your life. Tell me how you got into running, Paul.
Well, very simply, had a look down one evening sitting on the couch, and I thought to myself, I need to do something to lose a bit of weight. So I thought to myself, well, what can you do that is enjoyable, not too expensive, and you can do without too much hassle? Don't like going to gyms, etc. So I eventually thought, running. So that's why I took up the running now.
And you took it up with what, St. Peter's Club, or?
Well, eventually I did. Initially, tried it on my own, and I started to run. I thought to myself, I'll run a mile and walk home, and then we'll build it up from there. And I couldn't run a quarter of a mile, never mind a mile. So it was really, really tough getting going.
So you took yourself seriously enough to start running in the park, obviously, with the St. Peter's and then other places too. But you took it a stage further. You decided to go for the ultimate race.
Well, one of our coaches and good friend, Dwyer O'Connor, who's in the Peters Club. I used to run past the Peters Club when I was doing my own thing every Tuesday and Thursday night, and I thought to myself, I couldn't join that club because they're all really, really good, strong runners. But eventually, the penny dropped that the Peters is made up of lots of different runners, all ages, all abilities, and I fitted in very well. It was made very comfortable, and it was through talking to those guys, Dwyer in particular, other runners, that I became interested in running marathons, and then from there, particularly through Dwyer, as I say, became interested in running the world major marathons.
Which are?
There's 6 of them in total at the minute. Could be 7 in the not too distant future, but at the minute there's London, Berlin, Tokyo, Chicago, New York and Boston, and at the minute I've done 5, so I have Boston still to do.
I got the medals to prove it. Show us the medals there.
Yeah, well, as we say, it's all about the bling. So the five medals are here.
Very impressive. Nice ding to them too.
After running 26.2 miles, it's the least you would expect.
And how many of those were you number 1 in?
No.
But that didn't matter.
But that doesn't stop me trying.
And is there a wall every time you run a marathon?
There can be, yeah, there can be. In and around 19, 20 miles, and sometimes you think to yourself, do you not realise what age you are, you clown? What possessed you to do this? Not only once, but again and again. And I have now done 21 marathons, so I have. So it's like everything else, you gain the experience, and I suppose I got bitten by the bug.
Well, bitten by the bug indeed. Which has been your favourite of the big ones?
Of the big ones, probably Chicago, which I did this year. Fantastic town.
My kind of town, Chicago
my
is.
kind of town. Beautiful, fantastic pizza. Even better marathon course, and people are great, and the support around the course was just unbelievable.
Well, let's move from running to sitting down and talking. You're involved in Waves Trauma. What is that?
Wave Trauma is basically a grassroots organisation that started in 1991, and we work with victims of the Northern Ireland Troubles. So anybody who has been personally affected, or their family has been affected through the Troubles.
We're inclined to think that the numbers are something around 3,500 people who died, but the numbers of those affected by violence and otherwise, is that multiplied 10 times over?
Significantly, yeah. There's a huge number of people who have been affected by the Troubles in one way or another, and I think if you're of a certain age, we all know somebody who was injured, maybe fatally injured, who knows, but the numbers are vast.
Those circumstances manifest themselves in different forms to different people. How do you recognise somebody who needs help of wave trauma?
Well, anybody who approaches Wave for help they would be assessed. Basically, they go through an assessment process whereby an outreach worker would go and visit them and talk to them about their experience and what happened, and then they would become a member of Wave, and at that stage, other services would be offered to them.
What sort of services are we talking?
Well, Wave. Well, first of all, we're 5 centres, so we're Belfast, Derry, Armagh, Ballymoney, and Omagh. And each of the centres we offer a range of services. So we have welfare services, we have advocacy and casework, health and well-being, counselling and psychotherapy. Yeah, so there's a range of services there that some individuals might want some other individuals may not need any, but they're there and they're available to you if you so desire.
All with equal importance and need for the individuals involved. Things like advocacy, we take those sort of things for granted, don't we? That we can go out and represent ourselves or look for benefits by ourselves, but some people aren't in that frame of mind or have the abilities and the requirements for that.
The advocacy work that we would carry out would be, helping people to find their voice, helping victims maybe search for more information on a particular incident or an injury that they have suffered, dealing with people like, the police ombudsman's office, coroner's offices, that sort of stuff, and basically assisting people through a journey. And sometimes it can be as simple as just providing a listening ear, but it can be very detailed as well.
We're not looking for examples, heaven forbid, that we should ever ask or suggest for them. But what do you see in people when you provide this sort of help? How do you see it helping them or moving them forward, would you say?
Well, as I say, for some people are looking for different, everybody's looking something different, and for certain clients it is just they're looking for information, and the more information that we can help them garner, the better. Other people, as I say, they just want to be heard, they want their voice heard, and they're looking for support in that. Other people, suffer from PTSD, depression, anxiety, and also physical injuries and physical disabilities. So there's a range of services that might open to them, and we hopefully provide that service to them to enable them to face whatever challenges they have and hopefully empower them to move forward themselves.
There's some argument that anyone who lived through the Troubles is suffering a certain amount of PTSD. But what you're talking about are people who've had serious incidents to deal with, lost loved ones and all sorts of trauma, much, much major than many of us want to even begin to imagine.
Yeah, well, we would deal with a lot of clients who have suffered, as you say, major trauma in their lives, and some of the family who have experienced the outcome of that trauma as well. So yeah, you're dealing with individuals who have been involved in some of the most well-known heinous crimes in the Troubles, and we would deal with people all over the island of Ireland, basically, the UK, and at the minute we're dealing with people further afield through the Victims' Pension, the Troubles Permanent Disablement Payment Scheme.
Working with people of that nature who've had the trauma, are you affected by the trauma yourself? How do you, if not distance yourself, how do you protect yourself not to be drawn into the very trauma that the people have engaged in themselves or being involved in?
Well, yeah, I mean, part of the work you do hear, you do see, and you do read information that could be damaging to yourself. So through we have access to a psychotherapist ourselves, basically, and we can offload and discuss whatever issues we have ourselves. But personally, for me, that is very useful. But personally, for me, that's where the running comes in as well, because I can go running and go and leave it all behind, as the man says.
So for your own personal well-being, the running is very important in that respect.
Absolutely.
But they talk about the buzz of all of that. Is that what gives you the reason for going to that adrenaline rush that takes you into a better place, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, for me, as I say, once I start running, I can forget everything else and just concentrate on what I'm doing. And you get what I suppose what they call the runner's high, and it's a rush of endorphins, and you feel basically top notch, especially when you're pushing yourself as well, and you have that sense of achievement.
So the role that you play is to give advice, be the adversary yourself to some degree. How has that changed you, would you say, Paul, from beginning the role to where you are now?
Well, my particular role is, as I say, as a welfare rights officer. So that would and I would be engaged a lot with helping and assisting clients with basically a wide range of issues. Could be employment, could be welfare benefits, could be family, could be legal issues, could be anything really. Consumer debt. So I would provide advice and assistance across all of those areas. And as I say, a lot of my work at the minute is taken up with helping people to put together their application, help them source evidence, etc., to further their application to the Victims Payment Board.
How does it feel when you get it right, as it were, you get all that lined up together and you see recovery? Because you're looking for recovery, I suppose, to a degree. You don't have to define it as such, but there is recovery in a lot of the work.
Yeah, but as I say, a part of our work would be to empower people, you know, and part of my role is to help people to achieve small steps even, but to achieve certain steps and to help them financially. And the buzz that I would get from that is seeing the difference, that a real difference that you can make in people's lives by helping them. I would be involved in helping my clients start and maintain welfare benefit claims, for example, and that could be maybe submitting challenging decisions that the department have made, whereby maybe they've removed somebody's award. So challenging those decisions and representing them in tribunals and appeal hearings, and again that is so satisfying. It's unreal, and as I say, it does make a real difference. So it makes a real difference in people's lives, and it's fantastic.
Well, thanks for giving us a bit of insight in that. Back quickly to the racing. You mentioned 5 medals on the table there. What's the sixth big one you're going to look for?
Sixth one is Boston, which happens in April coming, April 2023, and that'll be the sixth World Majors done. And I'm not, as far as I know, Dwyer O'Connor's the only other runner in the Peters that has achieved it. Now, I could be wrong on that, and if I am, I'll probably be reminded at training on Thursday night. But as far as I know, Dwyer's the only one, and he really is the man I have to thank for getting me so engrossed in it all.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and you've only a quarter of a mile to go for this marathon to finish. Thank you for joining us.
No worries. Thank you, Don.